Speaker.
I call Mahesh Bindra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to take this call with my colleague who spoken earlier, Ria Bond. It's not, however, a pleasure to speak about the budget, Mr. Speaker, because there is nothing pleasant about this budget. Just last week, we had a visit to the Rimutaka prison, Mr. Speaker, and we were hosted by the prison manager, Chris Burns, and his great team. Now, Chris Burns and his team are doing a great job there, Mr. Speaker. They have a very dedicated rehabilitation team, and their officers know what they're doing. They're doing a great job in keeping those prisoners within the wire, keeping them safe, and also implementing programs and courses that help prisoners to rehabilitate. We also visited the drug treatment unit, which is one of its kind in the country. And although small, that unit is doing a great job. Now, we don't think there is any need to privatize Chris Burns' work or his colleagues' hard work that they're putting in. Now, this is not about cost cutting, Mr. Speaker. It's about rehabilitation of New Zealanders who have gone off track, and Chris Burns and his team are doing a good job to bring them back into the mainstream society. However, privatization of their work does not help the prisoners, nor does it help the correction systems in our country. The visit was very educational, Mr. Speaker, and that enforces the danger of assumption. Now, this government has assumed that outsourcing is a viable way ahead for our prison system. We believe it's not. And this is wrong on many levels. Now, our call is to invest in the likes of Chris Burns and his team, and not in Serco. Serco is a large corporate, and they are all about profits. Now, it is a matter of public record that prisoners were moved from prisons like Rimutaka and certain other units, such as Tongariro Rangipo and Manawatu. Those units were closed, Mr. Speaker, to create the business case for the $400 million Serco-run corrections facility in Wiri, in South Auckland Corrections Facility. Now, given the housing issues in Auckland, we wonder how many houses could have been built there on that 17-hectare site, which is accommodating the Serco-run corrections facility. Now, this, according to us, Mr. Speaker, is an opportunity lost for us. There was no need at all for that prison. And there was no need to close down the units which were working perfectly fine with dedicated officers and rehabilitation case managers there. Now, Serco is a foreign corporate managing Wiri. Serco also runs the UK's Yarlswood Immigration Detention Centre. I recommend members Google the Channel 4 investigation, as Serco had run that facility since 2007. Now, just last Saturday, Mr. Speaker, we were told that a violent offender escaped from a Serco-managed facility in UK. He just walked out, just tested the system. He claimed that he was just testing the system, and Serco in this test has failed miserably to keep those prisoners inside the wire. Now, this is the nub of the issue for us, Mr. Speaker. Serco may appear to be a great operator this year and even next year, but Yarlswood revealed true abuse 8 years in, and that is not the only problem Serco has, given it has written off some over £1 billion worth of contracts in its latest financial year. Then again, given the approach of this government with the holiday tax, it would not surprise us to see them outsource customs to Serco next. And we keep wondering what's going to happen next. Are they going to privatize police? Are they going to privatize the whole judicial system? Where will they stop? And the mental health system, as my colleague says here. This government has a strong desire to shed itself of the core responsibility of governance. Mr. Speaker, corrections is a core responsibility for any government. It is what the taxpayer expects from our justice system. They do not want overseas-owned, publicly listed corporates to make margins off their taxes while Kiwis get laid off. New Zealand First is also puzzled how an ice cream top-up in budget 2015 will do anything to stop offending. Now, it's very easy for the so-called financial wizards to calculate that there were 8,303 prisoners in our system last week, Mr. Speaker. The 6.5 million additional budget that was allocated for rehabilitation, it calculates down to $2.02 per prisoner per day, Mr. Speaker. That's the cost of a scoop of ice cream. Now, we don't expect people to change their behavior for the sake of a scoop of ice cream. We can do better than that, I think. But no, this government just believes in giving ice creams to Kiwis, millions to Serco. That's what it is. Now, just as we do not believe prisons should be sold off to the highest bidder, when that bidder has less than savory reputation, as Serco regretfully does. Mr. Speaker, just $2.02 a day extra for each of the 8,803 prisoners will make a scant impact unless the plan is managed. Decline of our prisons that Serco will magically fix. I do not believe in conspiracies, but there's a plan to sell off our prisons. This goes against the claims of Corrections Minister Pisita Sam Loto Inga that rehabilitation is a key focus of the national government. How could it add $2.02 a day extra? How can we fix the system at $2.02 a day? This goes against the claims that the minister has made. Unlike England's Moeen Ali, who I hope would drop Trent Bolt in the first test the other day, Mr. Speaker, this minister has dropped the ball on corrections big time, as is this government. Mr. Speaker, coming back to the cost cutting in prisons, we demand that the likes of our own people, our own correction staff and rehabilitation setup gets more funding and not Serco. Thank you.